Yeah. All right, Shalom Israel.
Shalom.
All right, we are the I.S.U.P.K out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under our commanding Gen.YAHANNA. All right, we've been teaching the truth according to the Bible since 1969, that the so-called black man, native Indian man, and the Hispanic man are the 12 lost tribes of the nation of Israel. Sorry for the late start, but we are a bit of technical difficulties. So we're going to jump right into the class, because after this class at 9 p.m. is Black Watch with commanding Gen.YAHANNA. We'll put a link to Black Watch in the comment section, so you all can tune in to Black Watch. All right, so at the last not the last Monday night history class, but a couple classes back, we touched on the book of Daniel, right? And we was bringing out that the only way for the so-called black man, native Indian man, and Hispanic man to beat in America is to become a Jew inwardly. All right, which means returning to your God, to your laws, your commandments and statutes. All right. Now, the first thing in doing that is the so-called black man being able to identify, being taught by priests and the real priests and prophets in the I.S.U.P.K. that first of all, you are an Israelite. All right, you are Jew according to the Bible, blacks, native Indians, and Hispanics. All right, so during our last class, we had touched on the book of Daniel, chapter 2. Right, we will make a quick touch on it as a backdrop, and then we're going to go to the book of Daniel, chapter 3. All right, at this time, the Babylonians was in rule. All right, the nation of Israel were conquered by the Babylonians. Right, but before we go into the scripture in the book of Daniel, chapter 3, right, let's read Daniel, chapter 1 and verse 1. This is a backdrop, Babakasha.
Come on. The book of Daniel, chapter 1 and verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Joachim, king of Judah.
Right, so Joachim, he was the king of Israel, the king of Judah. All right, at this time, read on.
King of Judah came Nebuchadnezzar,
right,
king of Babylon.
Right, so Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon at the time. Right, go ahead.
Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem, and besieged
and what they did?
And they besieged
Right, they besieged Jerusalem, right? Conquered Jerusalem. Read on.
Verse 2. And the Lord gave Joachim, king of Judah, into his hand.
Right, and the scripture making it clear to understand that the children of Israel, the king of Judah, was given. And this is something the so-called black man must understand. That as the scripture say, the Most High say, he put up kings and he take down kings. So the so-called black man serves a power where he could put us up or take us down. That is why we're in captivity, or as we say, according to the scriptures, that we are in hell. Because this is the most that now we are brought down to this low place due to the so-called black man not submitting himself or serving the living power, following the laws, commandments, and statutes of the Most High. We will now put into the hands of the oppressor, the so-called white man, and the other races. All right, read on.
And the Lord gave Joachim, king of Judah, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of God.
Right, and part of the vessels of the house of God, some of the sacred things belonging to the temple of the Most High, like the menorah and so forth, was seized also by the king Nebuchadnezzar at the time. Right, read on.
Which he carried into the land of Shinar,
right,
to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God.
Right, so all these golden pieces that Israel had in their temples, it was seized and was taken by Nebuchadnezzar, by the Babylonians, into their kingdom. All right, under their authority. So we know we're under their rulership or under their God, their ideas and philosophies. Right, read on.
Verse 3. And the king spake unto Aspenaz, the master of his eunuchs,
right,
that he should bring certain of the children of Israel.
Right. So when they besieged Israel, you know, a lot of Israelites were killed and murdered. All right, because Nebuchadnezzar oppressed the nation of Israel. Right. The Babylonians murdered and lynched blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians at the time. Right. Read on.
And of the king's seed and of the princes. Verse 4.
Right. So he taken the prime of the people, the skilled people. Right. Read on.
Verse 4. Children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom.
Right. So he took the brightest out of the nation, right, and bring them to serve under him in his kingdom and in his empire. Read on.
And cunning in knowledge and understanding
right,
science.
So that great knowledge, great understanding in science, the same thing as is done in Babylon today. All the entertainers, right, the scientists, right, the architects and so forth, the builders, they take all the skill from the nation of Israel, right? Blacks, Native Indians, and Hispanics, all the agriculturalists, and use them now to strengthen their empire, right? Read on.
And such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace,
right,
and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans.
Right, so those that quicken learning to learn the tongue are the Chaldeans, right? I believe that's supposed to be the African, somebody African nation also. Read on.
Verse 5. And the king appointed them a daily provision of king's meat and of wine, which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king.
Right.
Verse 6. Now among these of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah.
Right. So now the naming some of the prominent men in the book of Daniel, right? Daniel himself and all of these men were renamed or given what we call slave names, right? What we call today slave, like Johnson, John, Jackson, and so forth, right? Because Daniel and the 3 other brothers with him, they were renamed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego also, right? Read on.
Daniel chapter 1 and verse 7. Now unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names, for he gave Daniel the name of Belshazzar.
Right, so that was his slave name. Read on.
And Hananiah of Shadrach.
Right, Shadrach.
And to Mishael, Meshach, and to Azariah of Abednego.
Right, so they were also named now Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Right, and these 3 brothers in the scriptures, these 3 Israelites in the scriptures, comes off to me as a representation of blacks, Native Indians, and Hispanics also, right? Being 3 brothers. Where now we are the ones that's supposed to stand and hold the same spirit as Daniel and even his brothers under the captivity of Nebuchadnezzar, right? Read on, verse 8.
Verse 8. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat.
Right. So although Daniel was under captivity, he purposed within himself that he will not defile himself, right, with the king's meat, with the things that were given to them and eat and so forth. So now it's just as today. The so-called black man, Native Indian man, and Hispanic man being in a captivity, one of the key elements and one of the start-off points in the book of Daniel is that he purposed within himself to keep himself clean and not defile with the king's meat. The king's meat meaning the people in power, right? Their way are eating, their way are living, the things that they do, the gods that they serve. He purposed to keep himself not defiled. All right, read on.
Nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself.
Right.
Verse 9. Now the Most High had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs.
Right. So although Daniel was in captivity, and this is important to note, that Daniel gained favor, right, and tender love with the princes of the eunuchs, although they were under captivity by the Most High. So the Most High still gave Daniel favor. And how he obtained this favor? By serving the Most High power, right? By refusing to defile himself. And this is a good example for blacks, Native Indians, and Hispanics to understand that within this oppression, your main job is to understand that you are not to defile yourself as a separate people and a holy people of the Most High. This is where your power lies, so-called black man. Because now, when you're going to go into some more scriptures, when Daniel refused to defile himself, the scriptures will further show him, he and his brethren, right, that this is where their strength was obtained, right, to make them yet still be masters within their captivity. All right. So every time you hear in the I.S.U.P.K under commanding Gen.YAHANNA, the generals and captains and officers continually keep bringing out that the so-called black man is not to join with other nations, not to join the hands, all right, of the heathen, because we joining with them is just to set ourselves up for they to master us, because they have already conspired together against blacks, Native Indians, and Hispanics. And we can see that all over the world and every which way. And a continual and perpetual hatred towards black people. We always being lynched, always being murdered, always being driven out from, you might be living in a ghetto. When they want to do expansion, as they want to do in Port-au-Spain, they want you to move out. You understand? So they're going in East Port-au-Spain, where the ghetto located, and want them to move to further expand the city. They ain't going to the other side of Port-au-Spain, where it have the rich for they to move, but they're moving the poor, blacks, Native Indians, and Hispanics. So we have to understand, by joining, right, with this empire, with the philosophies, the ideas of America, that is what weakens the so-called black. That is why the scriptures keep telling us to be holy, right? Which means separate, Quadash in the Hebrew. Now I want to play a short clip. This is a good documentary to watch here, right? Officer Mike brought this the documentary to my attention, right? And this is the name of this is The Rise of Amazon, right? So I think it's coming across the Amazon empire, the rise and reign of Jeff Bezos. Now the reason why this is pretty interesting is the fact that it gives the so-called black man a small idea or a peek into how the so-called white man thinks and operates in his rulership. Now, the I.S.U.P.K always bringing out to the so-called black man that there are 666 rulers or governors, right, on the planet. As Job said, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. Now, Jeff Bezos, being one of the prominent men in society, this strategy is employed in every system all throughout America or all throughout this this empire, right? Babylon the Great. So we're going to go into the video, probably about 4 minutes or so, so that we will get an idea, right, at the importance of being separate from the other nations. Because now this is the white man more or less having a battle among themselves, but it's the same strategy that is used against the so-called black man. All right. Now it's important to take note that you can watch this entire video. It have a lot of things in here that can further open the eyes of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Right. So I'm gonna play it here now.
I a basketball hoop and saw our name on an advertisement. To us, it was really a no-brainer. We knew that we would, increase our sales. First year we did 100,000. Next year we did 1 million. We did 2 million, 4 million. We were doubling every year in the early days.
It was great for the companies, and even greater for Jeff Bezos.
Amazon has become the most recognizable name in e-commerce.
Not only would he take a cut of everything other businesses sold, he'd also keep his own store on the platform, competing against everyone else in the marketplace he owned and controlled.
He owns the main street. He has the main street real estate. Not just one building on the corner, the entire main street.
Right, so this is Jeff Bezos here, right? Later on in the video, not later on, Salakia, earlier up in the video, going to show you how we expand to come to the stage to build a platform, and I'm going to show you the strategies he used joining as the scriptures say, that the so-called white man killed many by peace. And you're going to see that strategy be employed by Jeff Bezos here, the owner of Amazon.
How Amazon would wield its power over the online marketplace would eventually become a question for government regulators. But early on, there were indications. The first to see them were book publishers.
Amazon took over a large market share of the publishing industry very, very fast. They were very quickly in a position to demand concessions. You know, I think that was another where publishers started to realize, oh, wait a minute, like they're our partner, but they now have the beginnings of a boot on our windpipe.
Inside the company, they had launched a strategy that some called the Gazelle Project, because they'd heard Bezos wanted them to pursue publishers the way a cheetah pursues a sickly gazelle.
Well, you don't go after the strongest. It's like the cheetah. The cheetah looks for the weak, looks for the sick, looks for the small. That's what you look for. So don't start with, you know, #1 publisher. Start with #7 publisher, and then #6 publisher. And by the time you get to #3, 2, and 1, the noise has gotten back to them. They're going to know this is coming, and chances are you may be able to sell that.
Right, so this part of the documentary showing how Jeff Bezos now start taking down what we call the book industry, right? Taking charge of the book industry, right? So pay note to this part.
Without a full-on war.
We were just this little mom and pop publishing company, publishing poetry books and translated fiction.
In the early 2000s, the number of books Dennis Johnson was selling on Amazon had been rising steadily. And one day, he got a phone call.
Our distributor called us up to talk about our Amazon contract. And he said, I went out to dinner last night with Amazon. It was like going out to dinner with the Godfather. They want a kickback. That's the word he used, kickback. And he said they wanted 4% more of our sales.
Was that unusual?
In our experience, it was totally unprecedented. Yes.
Right, so Salakia. So this part of the video read so far, right, making it to see within the documentary here, just give me Psalms chapter 55, verse 21, right, before I continue playing.
Come on.
Salakia. Psalm chapter 55 and verse 21. Right, let's go make it understand the strategy of the so-called white man. Right. So even when you're hearing about you know, Keith Rowley talking about the expansion of Port of Spain for the development and the country and so forth, we all know that it is not him that is speaking, right? But we are under rulership by the Syrians, the East Indians, the Chinese, and so forth. So these are plans and strategies that they have, and they use the same strategies of the so-called white man. All right, the #1 in the list of our oppressors, right? Read.
Come on, the book of Psalms, chapter 55 and verse 21.
Mm-hmm.
The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
Right, so the scripture is saying the words of our oppressor, it is smoother than butter, right? Read on.
But war was in his heart.
But what was in his heart?
War was in his heart.
But war is in the heart of our oppressor. And this is the same strategy that Jeff Bezos is using on these booksellers and publishers here. Smooth words. He creating a platform for you to get more sales, right? And it will help, you know, your finances to go up, your company to grow and so forth. So you're hearing now these smooth words, right? So you see that sign of promise. And this is what the so-called black man must understand. We is not to join or to be together with the other nations, because we will always fall prey to this. We will always fall prey, right, under the most subtle beast of the field, the so-called white man, right? Because his lips were smooth as butter, but war was in his heart. All right. Let me carry it back a little bit. All right.
Publishing poetry books and translated fiction.
In the early 2000s, the number of books Dennis Johnson was selling on Amazon had been rising steadily. And one day, he got a phone call.
Our distributor called us up to talk about our Amazon contract. And he said, I went out to dinner last night with Amazon. It was like going out to dinner with the Godfather. They want a kickback. That's
right. The join with Jeff Bezos, now you are kickback. All right.
the word he used, kickback. And he said they wanted 4% of our sales.
Was that
right? So now they already made the agreement. Now he come in and change the agreement, just as how the native Indians fall prey to the so-called white man. Always they always breaking treaties that they made with the tribal guard. This is the same thing taking place now within their circle. One agreement, and when he realized he had a leverage and that power, then he changed his mind again. All right. Now you want an additional 4%.
Unusual. In our experience, it was totally unprecedented. Yes.
Randy Miller ran the European book team and says he saw nothing wrong with Amazon's tough tactics to challenge publishers on prices and profit margins.
In order to bring them into line, we would actually take them out of automated merchandising, take their prices up to list price. We would put references on the.
Now, you gotta pay real attention to this part. I hear the statement he say, in order to bring them in line, it's making it understand the mindset of the oppressor. So I'm cracking it back a little bit again before we get back in the scriptures. In order to bring them in line. All right.
With Amazon, it was like going out to dinner with the Godfather. They want a kickback. That's the word he used, kickback. And he said they wanted 4% more of our sales.
Was that unusual?
In our experience, it was totally unprecedented. Yes.
Randy Miller ran the European book team and says he saw nothing wrong with Amazon's tough tactics to challenge publishers on prices and profit margins.
In order to bring them into line, we would actually take them out of automated merchandising, take their prices up to list price. We would put references on the product page, their product page, say, you want it cheaper? You want this book on this topic for a way cheaper price? Click here. And we'd send them to whoever we thought their worst competitor was. That was how Amazon forced their vendors to comply. But that's an old Walmart trick. I mean, it was like,
right. So if you're listening good, and that is strategy they use and force, right, all the other book publishers, right, under them. All right.
Amazon created that, and it made a difference. And Jeff kind of got excited about it.
When Dennis Johnson still refused to give in to Amazon's terms, he says the buy button on all Melville House books suddenly disappeared, making it impossible for customers to purchase them on Amazon.
I mean, this is the company that...
Right, so after he joined the Jeff Bezos platform to sell the books, and he don't want to agree to make the payment, when he going up online now and he's looking for the button to purchase books, no buy button, because now you're joined with the oppressor. Now you have full leverage and power over you. So now no buy button. So nobody can find his books to purchase. All right.
For two little publishers like me is Wounded Gazelles, I believe. That's how they think. That's how we thought from the beginning. And we eventually had to pay what at the time I called the bride. And our attitude toward Amazon was render unto Caesar and that which is Caesar's. And carry on as best you can.
Jeff Bezos may say that Amazon comes along and has given publishers like yourself access to a huge distribution channel for your books. Has Amazon been good for your business?
Well, absolutely they have. Any bookseller that sells our books is good for our business. So I'm not complaining that Amazon is selling our books. I'm just complaining of the way that their tactics are hurting the industry. I love.
In addition to granting interviews, Amazon responded to written questions. Regarding Dennis Johnson's characterizations, it told us Amazon disagrees with this account.
All right, so we will hold it there with that video for now. No, so that was a modern day example so that the so-called black man will understand the dangers are given our power or our strength to the hands of the oppressor or the hands of the heathen. Yet we may be around them due to captivity. Our responsibility is not to join with them, right? Just as Martin Luther King said he had a dream. And then he for himself said he is afraid that he brought his people into a burning house. Because we, during that time, fought to join with the other nations, and in joining with them, we fell apart. We fought to join to go to white restaurants, right? And white colleges and so forth. And now we forgot that we needed to build something for ourselves. So these things is to open the eyes of the so-called black man, native Indian man, and the Hispanic man, right? From there on the scripture, give me verse 2, chapter 1.
Daniel.
Yeah, the water. Book of Daniel.
Book of Daniel, chapter 1 and verse 2.
No, 2 and 1.
Book of Daniel, chapter 2 and verse 1. And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams,
right,
wherewith his spirit was troubled.
Right, so this is the second year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign. The scripture said he dreamed dreams by which his spirit was troubled, right? Read on.
And his sleep brake from him.
Right, and he lost his sleep due to the dreams he dreamed, right? Read on.
Verse 2. And the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers,
right,
and the Chaldeans, for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. Verse 3. And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Verse 4. Then spake the Chaldeans to the king in Sirach, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation.
Right, read on.
Verse 5. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, the thing is gone from me. If ye will not make known unto me the dream with the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut into pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. Verse 6. But if ye show the dream and the interpretation thereof, ye shall receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore, show me the dream and the interpretation thereof.
Right. So now, when the king dreamed that dream, the scripture said the dream went from him, right? So he's saying to all the leaders that he had, the Chaldeans, the wise men, the soothsayers, and so forth, tell me this dream what I dream and the interpretation. And these are the rewards that you will get. Otherwise, said that I'm killing all you, right? And make all your house into dunghills, right? So now when the story keep going on, right, the history keep going on, then we're going to see verse 17 where Daniel now beseech the Most High to get not only the interpretation of the dream, but to be able to tell the king what his dream was all about, right? Read on.
The book of Daniel, chapter 2 and verse 17. Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions.
Right.
Verse 18.
That is the men with the slave named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? Read on.
Verse 18. Then they would desire mercies of the Most High of heaven concerning this secret.
Right. So they wanted to beseech the Most High now, right, concerning this secret, right? And as the scripture said, the Most High revealed his secrets to his prophets. So there were no other race of people, Chaldean or so forth, that was able now to receive this secret, because the Most High Power, he is the revealer of secrets and reveal his secrets to his prophets, right? Read on.
That Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon.
Right. So now the asking the Most High also for mercies, right? Read on.
Verse 19. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision.
Right. So Daniel now getting the dream in a night vision, right? Read on.
Then Daniel blessed the Most High of heaven. Verse 20. Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of the Most High forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his.
Right. So he given the Most High all glory, right? Read on.
Verse 21. And he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings.
Right. So Daniel now is making it clear within the scriptures for the so-called black man to understand that is the Most High that do what?
Removeth kings and setteth up kings.
He is who remove kings and set up kings, not voting. Right? The so-called black man have just passed through a season voting, even locally in here in Trinidad and even in America. But the Most High power, he is who set up kings. Right? Read that part again.
The book of Daniel, chapter 2 and verse 21. And he changeth the times and the seasons.
Right.
He removeth kings and setteth up kings.
Right. So he removed Donald Trump and restore now, what is the next leader name? Joe Biden. And now he set up Joe Biden, right? And he right hand is this woman the I'll pull she name just now, right? So he is now who's setting up kings. All right, read on.
He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding.
Right.
Verse 22. He revealeth the deep and secret things.
He revealeth what?
He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness. Dwelleth with him.
Right. So the Most High power, he know what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. Right. Hold on for a minute and give me Amos chapter 3 and verse 7. Right. And you'll come back to the scripture there. Right. Because the so-called black man understand that we serve in our power and we have history to show the power that we are serving. All right. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that's in charge of everything. And we know voting is not what determining who is being set up. It is the Most High that sets up kings and take down kings as he did even in history to show you the 4 empires that is going to stand, which is the head of brass, the Babylonians, the Persian, and the Medes, right? That kingdom now represented as an inferior with silver, right? Brass with the Grecians, with the brass belly, and the legs with clay and of iron, right? Which is the Roman Empire, right? But read that scripture for me, Tawara.
The book of Amos, chapter 3 and verse 7. Surely the Most High power will do nothing.
He will do what?
Will do nothing.
Right, read on.
But he revealeth his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. He revealeth his secret unto the servants, his prophets.
So the Most High, everything he does, he revealeth his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. So even in the situation with Daniel, and he went to the Most High, what the Most High did? Reveal his secret to his servants, the prophets, right? Blacks, Native Indians, and Hispanics. Not East Indians, not Chinese, not Japanese, not Arabs, not the so-called white man. But to his prophets, Israelites, Blacks, Native Indians, and Hispanics. Right? Even before the coronavirus dropped, it is who again? The prophets that reveal that secret of the Most High. You can't eat what you want to eat. You can't eat pork, crab, lobster, shrimp, bat, snake, and so forth. You understand? Because this is against the Most High. And the Most High will bring vengeance upon the face of the earth for that. And so said, so done under commanding GEN.YAHANNA. They went against the word of the Lord, and the Most High ravished the earth right now with the coronavirus.
Right.
Nobody have no idea now when this corona is going to stop eat. Because right now the corona eating people like rain. Every time you think it's going down, it's coming up. You understand? Because this is the purpose of the Most High. He say, he kill and he make alive. He create both good and evil. They break the law, he create the punishments of the law. So the so-called black man must understand his power, his culture, and understand that all these secrets, all these things that we read according to the scriptures, these things are revealed to his servants, blacks, Native Indians, and Hispanics that have returned to the Most High power in the I.S.U.P.K under commanding General YAHANNA. All right? You can go ahead and read on the scripture. Yeah, go back to Daniel. Because even not talking about the coronavirus, right? The Most High will continue ravishing the earth with the coronavirus until the prophets step up and beseech the Most High to hold the hand. All right, the Most High will continually ravish the earth. He will kill more and more people. Nobody have killed more people on the earth than the Most High power. Because sometimes we hear that, and we agree with it, but the brain fail to realize, hey, what we saying. We fail to understand that all these workings is of the Most High power. All right, read on.
Book of Daniel, chapter 2 and verse 22. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness.
Right.
And the light. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers,
right,
who has given me wisdom and might, and has made known unto me now what we desire of thee. For thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter.
Right, so now the vision and the interpretation revealed to Daniel. Now we get the vision. So jump down to verse 25.
Verse 25. And I.S.U.P.K brought in Daniel before the king in haste.
Right, so I.S.U.P.K now that is one of the king's captains. He bringing Daniel into the chamber in haste. He bring him before the king in haste because they know what happening. Man going on dead. Any minute this king could trip and get the word and say, that is it. Take off man's head. So they hastily bringing Daniel before the king because heads going on roll. Because the king desire the interpretation of the dream and also to tell him what dream he dreamt. Right? And all the Chaldeans and so forth, with all the gods that they believe in, as the scriptures say, the gods of the nations, the idols, they know that all the Simidimi they know and all the Simidimi they believe in. One thing they know, the God can do is do this one thing, to tell the king what dream he dream. They know now. As the Chaldeans I was saying before, it and no God, this is something for a real God to do. And there's only one real God and one living power. All right, read on.
And I.S.U.P.K brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus unto him, I have found a man of the captives of Judah.
Right, one of the captives of Judah, just as we is captives today. You must understand that so-called black man. Right, go ahead.
That will make known unto the king the interpretation.
Right, this captive from the tribe of Judah, he is going to make known unto you the interpretation, a captive. Right? Not somebody who come on holiday. Just as how the so-called black man came to the western side of the world, not on holidays, but as a captive, a slave, a so-called black man. He was given Nebuchadnezzar the interpretation of this dream. Right? Read on.
Verse 26. The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar, art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen and the interpretation thereof?
Right, so he asking this question again because within his own self, he are not shocked with this man going to tell me why I dream. Look, even the dream went from it. He gonna bring back the memory what I dream and give me the interpretation. So he asks them again because you know I'm on head going today. Right, read on.
Verse 27. Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, the secret which the king had demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show unto the king.
Right, so now Daniel now talking it wisdom and setting it clear, right, to the king and to the heirs of everybody who hearing it. Right, he making it known that the wise men, the astrologers, all these big boys you have, the magicians, all these mighty men you have around here, the soothsayers, all of them who know all kind of voodoo and magic and they can read the signs and the stars, them can't make this thing known unto you. Right, read on.
Verse 28. But there is a God in heaven,
right,
that revealeth secrets and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days.
Right, but it have a God, it have a power, right? the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he revealed secrets. And he is going to reveal to you, that's what the dream was about, in the last days. So this dream that King Nebuchadnezzar was having, as Daniel saying, is going to make him know what is going to happen in the last days. This was a dream and a vision about kingdoms. And this is what he's been reading about in the book of Daniel chapter 2. Different kingdoms or different empires that the Most High show within the scriptures rise in rulership and in power. So that the so-called black man is going to watch this type of history and understand the signs at the times as we see. Right? When you look back in history, you're going to see where the Babylonians was in rule in Nebuchadnezzar, right? All the way down to right now, the Roman Empire that is still in rule. And the Roman Empire was overthrown, I think, in 193 AD. All right. But this Roman Empire philosophies and way of doing things is still prevalent today. You understand? One man and one woman, homosexuality, right? Because Alexander the Great and all, he and all was a homosexual. All right. A great ruler at the time, a so-called white man. But these Greek philosophies that was rampant during the Greek times came down to the Roman times, prevalent today. That same spirit, all right, of the Roman Empire. All right, read on.
Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. Verse 29. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind upon thy bed, what should come to pass hereafter, and he that revealeth secrets maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. Verse 30. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king.
Right. So now Daniel giving him the interpretation of the dream, right? Jump down to verse 40.
The book of Daniel, chapter 2 and verse 40. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron.
Right. So he's describing the fourth kingdom, right? That is going to be in rulership. Read on. And the last kingdom, Salakia, read on.
Shall be strong as iron. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. Verse 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay.
Right.
Verse 42. And as the toes of the feet were part iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken.
Right.
Verse 43. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another.
Right. So now the scripture is saying that kingdom will be partly iron, partly broken. They will be mixed with the seed of men, right? But they wouldn't cleave to one another. And this empire, came with a brilliant strategy, a peace. You understand? And try to bring a philosophy, a unifying. Something that, as we see again, sung in good, sung in smooth, right? But this was the destruction of blacks, native Indians, and Hispanics, right? I think it's in just now. Just give me 1 minute. Daniel chapter 4, I believe, where the scriptures are saying many were destroyed by peace. All right, just give me 1 minute. Babakasha. I go down to 44. Right, Salakia. I must find that in the meantime.
Book of Daniel, chapter 2 and verse 44. And in the days of these kings shall the Most High of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people.
Right.
But it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms.
Right. So the Most High going to set up a kingdom in these last days. I'll be bringing out here in the class within this empire that will never be destroyed. Right. But what will happen?
It shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms.
But it shall break in pieces and do what?
Destroy, consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
Right. And that is Yahawashi bringing all these different races and kingdoms into subjection, all right, by his military power and his military might. All right. Give me the book of Daniel chapter 8 and verse 25. The scripture you're looking for. All right. 8 and 25. Because the scripture is saying in Daniel chapter 2 and verse 43, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. You understand? Because the so-called oppressor, you know, always push that doctrine of peace. If you join me, right, that is how you will get peace. Just as obvious bringing out in the video earlier with Amazon, right? They make everybody join them, right? And then now start dictating the peace, dictating how the prices should go up and how it should go down. And they now have no platform for themselves because they join the oppressor, they join the so-called white man. All right, read a scripture from our Pasha, that's 8 and 25.
The book of Daniel, chapter 8 and verse 25. And through his policy also he shall
through his what?
Through his policy.
Right, through his policy.
Also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand.
Right, through his policy. So you're going to set up policies to ensure that he remain in power. That craft is going to remain in his hand. He's going to be the controller and ruler of everything that taking place, trade and so forth, right? And if he ain't want to do things his way, then he put restrictions on it. Wait term that is used for it again? Sanctions on you, right? Tawara, right? Go ahead.
And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many.
And by what?
And by peace shall destroy many.
By peace shall destroy many. Because now he transforming himself with his doctrine as the angel of light. So everybody seeing the so-called white man now as he's the peacemaker. Every time it has some way, he wanted to make peace. Two people fighting, he jumping in, he's the referee. He's the peacemaker. But that is the one behind the scenes destabilizing the economy. You understand? Up to today, I'm watching an article, and I seen strategies our nations is use the stop some Venezuelan, some Asherite women and children coming in on a pirogue in the area of Waterloo, and that is a East Indian community right in Waterloo, and police now nab them and the pirogue drive off. And if you're watching, every time the Venezuelans are trying to escape the oppression in Venezuela and run across to Trinidad, all the ports of entry in Trinidad that are coming through is always entry points of the heathenic nations. You understand? So this is not no accident. Even in the oppression, the heathen, the East Indians, the Chinese and so forth, because the Chinese had a whole set of them up in a restaurant building as prostitutes, 12 and 13-year-olds, right? They already have something in place when the so-called black man under oppression to take you from one oppression, from one oppressor, and take them for the self to oppress you. So they had them working as prostitutes, you understand? And every witch thing they had them doing. Because every port of entry is always with the big boy them living. Up in Chagaramas, down in Cedros, in Waterloo. You understand? All the East Indian events really coming in. You ain't here coming in, no black area. You understand? And when they reach here, you're not even seeing them in no black areas. All the Venezuelans and them, right? Getting housing, right? further in the slavery up in these communities among the rich. You understand? Among the oppressors. That is what we have to understand. This is not no accident. So all these things they be hearing about the borders, this and the borders, that and the borders insecure. The borders will never be secure. You understand? When there is profit for the other races to make. You understand? Cheap or next to nothing labor, prostitution, raping, or whatever else they're doing to the Venezuelan women and men. All right? Can read on, Babakasha.
And by peace shall destroy many.
And by peace, right, the so-called oppressor and the other nations, what they're going to do is destroy many. Because they're always pushing that doctrine of peace, you understand, which is not what they're about. All right? So I want to jump from that because time running out. You already started late and jump to Nebuchadnezzar. The book of Daniel chapter 3 and give me from verse 1. All right, because here what we was just reading is where Daniel gave the interpretation of the dream and also show the king what his dream was all about, and he was raised up in stature among the Babylonian kingdom. Right, read on.
The book of Daniel chapter 3 and verse 1. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold,
right,
whose height was 80 cubits, and the breadth of 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon.
Right.
Verse 2.
So he made this big statue, you understand, to show and to explanate, well, he's the king. Come like the Statue of Liberty, something where people can recognize when they're flying in. You understand? This is America. You understand? You've seen big buildings, Washington, D.C., you've seen the Statue of Liberty, all these landmarks to show, welcome to this empire, right? Read on.
Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, sent to gather together the princes, the governors, and the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all rulers of the provinces.
Right. So all the great rulers that the king chose from himself, right? From the other nations, right? From among his people and even from the nation of Israel, right? He called all of them and gathered them up in a meeting, right? Read on.
To come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar had set up.
Right, because he's going to now create a dedication for the image that he set up. You understand? So you're going to see now this is the same spirit that has been pushed on the so-called black man, Native Indian man, and Hispanic man every day. Whether it's Christmas, Easter, Halloween, where's the next one? Thanksgiving. That is the one I want to remember. Tawara. You understand? The slaughter and the Native Indians, whatever feast they have, the dedication, they push this philosophy that we know should serve that. And how they're doing that now in a psychological way. They ain't paying gun to head, but how they do it? By stripping you, by forcing it to join them. Because now you, right, lost your feast days, and you lost now your high holidays. You understand? So now they had to put gun to head again because you are not to celebrate. So what we create for you to celebrate and what we dedicating, you go bow down and worship that with me. So Thanksgiving, you in that. Christmas around the corner with about Nimrod, you in that. You understand? Easter with Ashtarte, you in that. Because now you lost your culture, you lost your constitution and don't understand what is taking place with your nation and your people, right? Read on.
The book of Daniel, chapter 3 and verse 3. Then the princes, the governors and captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs,
right,
and all rulers of the provinces gathered together unto the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up.
Right. So everybody, all the great rulers, they coming now to bow down to that. And that is what the oppressor use also even today for the so-called black man. All this, them is like celebrities. All the police, all the celebrities, all the governors and so forth, they now have them in a game. When they celebrating Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter and so forth, now the rest of the multitude is going to follow these celebrities, these leaders. So now they have them to the forefront, right? Read on.
And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Verse 4. And an herald cried aloud, to you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages.
Right, read that one more time.
Then an herald cried aloud, to you it is commanded, O people.
Right, O people.
Nations,
right? All the races, because this is the ruling empire at the time, Babylon. Right, go ahead.
And languages.
So it doesn't matter what languages speak. Read on.
Verse 5. That at what
hear the song at the corner, read on.
The flute.
The flute, when it's at the Christmas carol, and it's at the parang, you understand? You start to hear Christmas carol, Christmas music, read on.
The harp. The sackbut. The psaltery. And the dulcimer.
Right.
And all kinds of music. Ye fall down and worship the golden image.
Right. So when you hear this, fall down and worship the golden image. You understand? And what is when you're going to hear the music and you have to fall down and worship? What coming up next? You understand? Even locally, Christmas and worldwide. All nation and tongue, even if it's a Chinese, even if it's a Muslim, even if it's an Egyptologist, when you hear them Christmas carol, parang and Christmas carol ring out, you have to fall down and worship. You have to get that big Christmas tree and ram that in your small house. You understand? And break it off, as the scripture say, with silver and with gold. You must do that. Even with the risk in you, right? That your house go burn down. You understand? You have to do that. Right? Because now you have already been hypnotized to worship that image. So the same spirit, all these kingdoms and them keep pushing. All right. The mother's get one scripture I believe is in Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 40. Just hold that for a minute. Give me 40 and 17. Baba Kasha.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 40 and verse 17. All nations before him are as nothing.
Right. So we're coming back to the story of Daniel, but we're reading from the book of Isaiah now. All nations before the Most High, all the other races, he's saying is as nothing. Read on.
And they are counted to him less than nothing.
And counted as what?
Less than nothing.
Less than nothing. Read on.
And vanity.
And vanity. So-called black man don't understand that. Don't be looking for to be equal with the other nations or following their ideas and philosophies or the way they do things. Because the scripture is saying there's nothing and less than nothing. Read on.
Verse 18. To whom will ye liken the Most High? Or what likeness will he compare unto him?
Right.
Verse 19. The workman melted a graven image.
Right. So it's showing you the ungodliness, right? Or the foolishness of the heathen, or the mind of the heathen. You understand? They now trying to make an image, right? Or something to compare to the Most High. Some false god, right? And this is something we're seeing here in the even from the beginning of the empires, the Babylonian Empire, right? Read on.
The workman melted a graven image, and the goldsmith spread it over with gold.
Right, the workman make it graven images and spread it over with gold. Right, read on.
And casted silver chains.
And casted what?
Silver chains.
Right, and casted silver chains. Read on. So that is different type of false gods. You see, Nebuchadnezzar built a big false statue, even in the wilderness in Egypt. We following the Egyptian customs. We had this big calf built out of gold. Outer gold is the same spirit. You understand? Serving other gods, right? Which is now going to lead you into different philosophies and different ideas that is contrary to what the Most High set up for the so-called black man, right? Read on.
Verse 20. He that is so impoverished.
Right. So he that is so impoverished, right? So just now, just give me 1 second. He that is so impoverished. Hold on 1 second. Right, go ahead. Read that part again.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 40 and verse 20. He that is so impoverished,
right,
that he had no oblation.
Right, so he that's so impoverished, so you're so poor. This now come like you're talking directly to blacks, native Indians, and Hispanics, right? You come down that you're so poor, you're impoverished, right? Read on.
He had no oblation.
No what?
No oblation. Chooseth a tree.
Chooseth a what?
Chooseth a tree that will not rot. He seeketh unto him a cunning workman to prepare a graven image.
Right. Read it one more time again from verse 20. Let's read verse 20.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 40 and verse 20. He that is so impoverished.
Right. So he that is brought down so poor. So we're talking about the poor now, because we talk about the other graven images where they have it spread over with gold. You understand? And they have a goldsmith. Now the so-called black man, native Indian man, and Hispanic man, he can't afford that. I'm gonna put it in that way. You understand? He can't afford all that. Right? So this catering even now for the poor. So read on. Yeast that is so impoverished, read on.
That he had no oblation.
Right? Nothing to offer as a God.
Chooseth a tree.
He chooses a what?
Chooseth a tree.
So this is the perfect holiday for the poor. The perfect holiday for blacks, native Indians, and Hispanics that does not know God, that does not know the Most High power. Right? Read on.
Chooseth a tree that will not rot.
Right. Now he choosing a tree that ain't gonna rot. And that is where the Chinese and them, you know what I mean, facilitating for the so-called black man, all the nations as a matter of fact. So right now they're making plastic Christmas tree by the billions right now. You understand? To sell to blacks, native Indians, and Hispanics. Because he had to choose a tree, one that ain't gonna rot. He don't have the resources to go and cut them big boy white man tree. Yeah, he house can hold one of them trees as a matter of fact, because right now we dwelling in tents. You understand? So you can't go and cut one of them big boy tree, put it on your car footy well fall apart, and bring it home and put it up in your house, and the tree bigger than your house. You might have to cut a whole tree roof to get the tree inside your in a apartment. So where you going and get a tree that will not rot, a nice little small plastic tree. Because yeah, when them songs ring out, you have to bow down to that God, right? Read on.
He seeketh unto him a cunning workman to prepare a graven image.
Right, he seeketh a cunning workman to prepare a graven image. Right, go ahead. So the Chinese them putting down work. Right, read on.
That shall not be moved.
That shall not what?
That shall not be moved.
Right, so when they get a tree, that can't rot in that plastic tree, it had the stand, it had everything, it can't move. Right, read on.
Verse 21. Have ye not known? Have ye not heard? Hath it not been told you from the beginning? Have ye not understood from the foundation of the earth?
Talking to the so-called black man here. You ain't understand all these things. You ain't hear this from the beginning, from Genesis. Read on.
Verse 21, verse 22. It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth.
It is who?
It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers.
Right, and the inhabitants thereof is as grasshoppers. But he, the Most High power, he sitteth upon the circle of the earth. There's only one power and one God. Right? That is what he's saying here in the book of Isaiah. Right? Read on.
And the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretch out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out of a tent to dwell in.
Right.
Verse 23.
So he created everything. Read on.
Verse 23. That bringeth the princes to nothing.
That bringeth the what?
That bringeth the princes to nothing.
Right. So all these kingdoms you're reading about in Daniel, it is the Most High that bring all these princes, all these kingdoms, all these kings. he bring them to nothing. You know?
He maketh the judges of the earth as vanity.
And maketh the judges of the earth as vanity. Right? We will continue on this. Let's jump back to the Daniel form, please. Right, Baba Kasha. All right, so we just wanted to establish that the nations is nothing, right? And these idols and these pagan holidays we worshiping, these things have been prophesied in the scriptures. These things prophesied what is going to befall the so-called black man, Native Indian man, and Hispanic man, right? Read on.
Book of Daniel, chapter 3 and verse 10. Thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man that shall hear the song.
Just not 3 and 10 they reach. How far you reach? 10? That's no one. You read where the anybody who in worship will be cast into the fiery furnace already?
Nah.
Nah. Yeah, well, in reach 10, that's nowhere. I'm gonna just check for it. Right, you chapter verse 4, I believe, verse 5. Right, that verse 5. Let's read over 5 and I can go down from there.
Book of Daniel, chapter 3 and verse 5. That at what time ye hear the song of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up.
Right. Read on.
Verse 6. And whoso falleth not down and worship shall the same hour be cast in the midst of a burning fiery furnace.
Right. So this was the decree made by the king. If he want to worship, right? If he want to be part of this dedication that is going to take place, and this is year after year, just like all these pagan holidays, right? Now you're going to be cast in the midst of the burning fire. And a lot of times, even right now, that burning fire is the people around you, is your family. You understand? When you decided to hear what happening, I started to understand that the Most High requires from me as a Israelite, as a black Native Indian and Hispanic man, woman, and child, not to follow these pagan holidays. Then your family against you. But you are the shepherd. You want to celebrate Christmas. Let them try and them enjoy themselves. So now you are at war with your own family because these things have been established in the minds and in the hearts, right, of your people by the oppressor. Right? Read on.
Verse 7. Therefore, at that time, when all the people heard the song of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, and all kinds of music, all the people, the nations, and the languages fell down and worshipped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up.
Right, so everybody worshiping, right? All people, all nations, all languages, everybody bowing down to that Christmas music, right? Read on.
Verse 8. At the time, certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews.
Right, so them Chaldeans and them now, they want to accuse the Jews because it's always the nation's spirit, right, to oppress blacks, Native Indians, and Hispanics, especially when they decide to serve the Most High power. Somebody trying to find fault with the so-called black man. When they start trying to return to your God and your power, there's something for the so-called black man to take note of, right? Read on.
Verse 9. Then spake and said to the king Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. Verse 10. Thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man shall hear the song of the cornet.
Right. So now here is where the accusing Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right, and not worshiping the image. Just jump down to verse 12 for time, Baba Kasha.
There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon.
Right. So now they're blaming these Jews here now, you understand, that in high positions within Babylon, right? Read on.
Whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, these men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy God.
Right. So when the so-called black man now, just as these brothers in the scripture in Daniel, when they decide to remain separate under captivity, now the heathen is bringing an accusation against them. You understand? They want to celebrate Christmas and Easter and so forth. You understand? Watch them on YouTube and Facebook and watch them all over the place here. Watch them on the streets. You understand? They're doing something against what the empire set up and has established, right? Jump down to verse 13.
Verse 13. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Verse 14. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up?
Right. So the king said up a question to them now, right? Read on.
Verse 15. Now if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace.
Right. So now if they fall down and worship this image, right, or do things according to the oppressor letting them know, no, well, you go face your death. No, we will cut you off. Right. And this is like the so-called black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, even in captivity. Even when they say slavery was abolished for the so-called black man, right? And now we more or less off the plantation. When the so-called black man realizing, but wait now, all right, we offer the plantation, you understand, and not understanding the culture and what he's supposed to do, which is remain separate from the heathen. And we realize, well, boy, wait now, I off the plantation, but you know me having nothing. Now we start now like to want to fight to go back to the plantation. That is like the same philosophy that Martin Luther King used. You have a dream today that little black boys and black girls go join together. That is just like rioting. All these things is the so-called black man being forced off the plantation, right, due to the strategies of the hidden, and we fighting to go back in. You understand? To the plantation. That is what we have to understand. This is the spirit that the oppressor wants the so-called black man to be in. But when you come to a stance to realize, but wait now, the so-called black man is responsible for creating the internet, going up on the moon, the elevator, the car, you understand? The cell phone, anything you could think about, the so-called black man is the one that invented it. Whether it be due to necessity or what the case might be, we now understand, well, wait now, boy, we have all this ability. We is the salt of the earth. You look back at the history of Black Wall Street, then why I fighting to join these people? Because we seeing, as the scriptures talk about the Egyptians, we seeing the strength of the Egyptians and want to join. When you're out in the wilderness and you realize now, boy, things looking grim, we want to go back in Egypt. And this is a spirit keep looming around the so-called black man, not realizing, but wait now, all these great empires that we running to go back into, we was the ones that built them up. So if when I was in this empire under oppression, we come up with going on the moon, making the internet, the cell phone, the car, you understand what I'm saying? The elevator, right? Anything you can think about an invention, you understand? Then I should realize, but wait now, if I separate myself now from the philosophies of the heathen and dwell among my people, following the laws, commandments, and statutes, because that is what always making me wanting to come together, and yet still we can't stick together and fall apart because we are no order among ourselves, and that is what the law is for, to bring order and righteous judgment and righteousness among black people. So we ain't gonna rape and lynch one another like the East Indians, and they're always high in domestic violence, right? If we understand this and we separate, because we realize everything that the heathen enjoying right now, we responsible for building it and designing it. You understand? If we separate now, if we had the internet under captivity, right? If we separate from them now, we might come up with something even greater than the World Wide Web. We will come up with something even greater than the automobile, than the elevator. You understand? Than going on the moon. Because we're responsible for all that. But because of that Stockholm syndrome that's set into the so-called black man, we can't accept the fact, but wait now, we can really separate. Because they always hire at an arm's length. They always hire separate, but at the same time, where they can gain all the profit from you and make money from you. You understand? So they keep in their arm's length, not too much out of reach, but where they can gain from you. Now the so-called black man understand is we time to be holy, to cut off the heathen from among we. That is what we have to understand, so-called black man, right? Read on. Okay, remember you drop off. Well, Dinon, jump down to 17. All right, because here Nebuchadnezzar threatening to throw them in the fiery furnace. Jump down to 17, Babakasha. Yeah, go to 17. That is all right. Tawara.
The book of Daniel, chapter 3 and verse 17. If it be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace.
Right, and this is what the so-called black man don't understand. Our power, he is able to deliver us from any fiery furnace. And this is just an example, a raw example for the so-called black man to understand that our God is able to deliver us from any fiery furnace. It have already been always so. All through the scriptures. Every time we reach a wall, as long as we serve in the Most High power, following the laws, commandments, and statutes, we always get deliverance. It's a repetitive piece of history with black people. You understand? But if we not serving the Most High power, days will be just fall apart. Right? Read on.
And he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. Verse 18. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods.
Right? So to stand up straight and let the heathen know we ain't serving your gods. Right? Jump down to 19.
Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach.
Right. So Salakia. So now the king trip off. You understand? The scriptures say he visage change, his countenance change against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Right? Go down to 20, Babakasha. That's what time.
Verse 20. And he commanded the most mighty men.
Right. So he take the mighty men, you understand, the high-ranking men within the army, you understand, to deal with the brothers. 21.
Then these men were bound in their coats.
Right. So they tie them up, they bung them up in the coats, they grab them by the coats. Read on.
Their hosen.
Right. That is the pants.
And their hat.
The hat. So they have on the headband, everything. Right. Whatever hats I have. Right. Read on.
And their other garments.
Right.
And were cast into the midst of the fury. Salakia, and were cast into the midst of the burning fury furnace.
Right. So the
fiery furnace.
Right. So you throw them in the fiery furnace, grab them up, manhandle them. You understand? And he used the mightiest captains with making Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, as we say, it was no punk. You understand? It was men of the Lord. They get the mightiest set of men to try to manhandle them and throw them in the pit. Right? Read 32.
The book of Daniel, chapter 3 and verse 32.
Sorry, 22. Salakia.
The book of Daniel, chapter 3 and verse 22. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Right. So the king make his commandment. You understand? The oppressor come against the so-called black man. But we serving the most high power that we are to understand. And the same thing using to destroy you is the same thing set to destroy him. It has something called, I think it's the Tignon laws that was in Louisiana at a certain time where even black women when they started, you know, after slavery was abolished, I believe somewhere around that time, where they started wearing all the hair and putting beads and rubies and things in the hair. Them black women down Louisiana, right? And had herself looking fly. When the oppressor realized how they're looking and the white women started envy them, what the commander do now, they set a law. Black women can't wear the natural hair on the outside. And you know what come and happen? Just as how this fiery flame eat up the heathen, now the black woman now using head wrap and wrap the hair because the law now do hire hair outside. And now when they started make head wrap and wrap up the hair nice and started look fly same speed, you know what I had to come and do? They had to come and drop the law. That is the power of the so-called black man, native Indian man, and his native Indian and Hispanic man and the woman. When now they start to understand that responsibility is the most high power.
Right.
You understand? That is what we have to understand. So now cover your head, the woman and them, all black, native Indian and Hispanic women, all Israelites, the fly. They say now, all the hair outside, all the two fly, cover all the head. They cover the head now, boom. They fly again. White women started envy them. Now it turn a fashion statement till now we see like the wearing women wearing shower cap now. You understand? First black people are swag. They're using shower cap and all and making it swanky. That is what we have to understand, that black people is the salt of the earth. And we always have been and will always be jealous by the other nations, even in the low state we in. Right? Even as commanding general has bring out the women eating the worst food and the worst water and the worst everything, you understand? And there's still the baddest set of women on the planet, still the best looking women on the planet, you understand? Still the prettiest set of women on the planet. All right, so much time I have, I think I have 10 minutes again before Black Watch. All right, give me 24.
Verse 24, then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake and said unto his counselors, did we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire?
All right, so Nebuchadnezzar asked question now because it's like this big like a kiln. It have a big thing called a kiln, like where it does make coals in, like a big pit. Right? When they carry the men now to throw them in the pit, they heat up the pit so much now, and wherever door one thing they open it, like if you ever watch the movie Backdraft, the flame fly up now and consume the men that go to throw the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the black men, right, into the pit. The fire fly up now and consume the men that was going to throw them, and the captains are Nebuchadnezzar. And now with the blast, with the explosion, right, the men fall in the pit. And now Nebuchadnezzar asks them, but wait now, and there's 3 men we throw inside it, right? Read on.
They answered and said unto the king, true, O king.
Right, read on.
Verse 25, he answered and said, lo, I see 4 men loose.
So he's saying, but look, the rest of the men get blown up on the platform because he probably at a higher level watching over to make sure the execution go as he wanted because he vexed. He said, but look, 3 men fall in, but look at seeing 4 men walking around, right? Read on.
I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the 4th is like unto the Son of the Most High.
Right, the form of the 4th is what?
Like unto the Son of the Most High.
And the form of the 4th is like unto the Son of the Most High. And these things important to note, but it's showing here, these heathen have always been aware of black history. Because now when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego get thrown down in the pit, now he's saying in the 4th one, he looking like some that belong to the Most High Power, because they have always heard the history of Israel all across the planet. Whether it be the flood, whether it be the destruction of the Africans, you understand? So they understand the power of the Most High and understand what is taking place. You catching me? But the arrogance of the heathen, the pride of the heathen always make them try to rise themselves above the chosen people of the Most High, blacks, Indians, right? Read on.
Verse 26. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Right, so now we asking them to come for 27.
Verse 27, and the princes, governors, and captains, and the king's counselors being gathered together saw these men upon whose bodies the fire had no power.
Right, so what the heathen, right, had attempted to use to destroy Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, it had no power. And this is what the so-called black man must understand today. Everything you're going to hear about for the so-called black man to try, join the Muslim, join the Jehovah's Witness, join the Pentecostal, join the Baptist. You catch my brothers, only when the so-called black man come back to the laws, commandments, and statutes of the Most High power is when these strategies and these things that the heathen have against us, that is when it have no power, right? Read on from in the same verse. Upon
whose bodies the fire had no power,
right,
nor was an hair of their head singed,
right, singed, right. So no, not a hair on the head singed, right? No way on the body burn, and it just fall down in a pit where the fire consumed the other men, right? Read on.
Neither were their coats changed,
neither the coats changed,
nor the smell of fire had passed on them,
nor they even smelling like fire passed on them. That is the power of the God that blacks, Native Indians, and Hispanics serving, right? Even today, we job is to serve this power. This is the same power when he was in Egypt. You read the story. 40 years we walking up and down, and the Clark sole never wear out. 40 years, you had the same shoes, and your shoe heel is the same thickness. This is what the so-called black man don't understand. Not only you and get in touch, you understand, but everything that belongs to you, the Most High protect everything. You understand? That is how serious and how powerful, you understand, our God or our power is, right? Give me 28, Babakasha.
Verse 28. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the Most High of Shadrach, blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
So now Daniel, I'm sorry, then Nebuchadnezzar, now like Pharaoh, when he realized, now boy, this is something strange, now he started bow down. You understand? Read on. Read on, Salakia.
Who had sent an angel and delivered his servant that trusted him.
Right, so you see, bless this God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob here, that sent an angel to deliver his servants, which is Israelites, which is black people, which is not everybody. The servants of God is one people, the nation of Israel, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Read on.
And have changed the king's word and yielded their bodies, and that they might not serve nor worship any god except their own God.
Right, so now, this now is where the nation of Israel get chance now to worship their own God again. Give me 29.
Verse 29. Therefore, I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces.
Right, so now this is a wicked king, but the power of the Most High, because he oppressed the nation of Israel. Right, in 2 Kings, he killed this man's son, burn all the eyes, all kind of thing from there. The man see children get killed by the orders of King Nebuchadnezzar. So he oppressed black people, but when you see the power of the Most High, he had a right. Read on.
Which shall speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Right, so anybody that talk against the God of Israel, this heathen can gain an order on a decree. Right, anybody that speak against them, what will happen?
Shall be cut in pieces.
They shall be cut in pieces.
And their houses shall be made a dunghill.
And the houses shall be made a dunghill. That is the position that the black man, even in this captivity, should put the heathen under by coming back to serve the Most High power. When the coronas are to eat, let it eat out everything. You understand? And kill as much as it can kill until they realize that they must return and beseech the prophets of the Most High that they reach out to their God to stop the coronavirus. You understand? From ravishing the place. Because it is our power, you understand, that sent this upon the nations for what they have done over all these years against blacks, Native Indians, and Hispanics, right? Read on, Baba Kasha.
Because there is no other God that can deliver after this sort.
Because the king realized now, it's not no other God can do that. You understand? No East Indian God, no Allah rock. You understand what I'm saying? Could can't send the coronavirus and rip apart all this amount of heathen.
Right.
And they can't find a solution. It's only plans and no solution. You understand? And the Most High still protecting the people in the middle of the poverty, in the middle of the oppression. They're still going back and forth here, there, and all is a party and all they're talking about too. Them and dying from corona. You understand? All the heathen and them getting the full blown tight. You understand? But the Most High could protect blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians if they come into the I.S.U.P.K under Commanding General GEN.YAHANNA and serve the Most High power, right? Give me verse 30.
Verse 30. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon.
Right, and this is how it is get a promotion in Babylon. Not by sucking up, not by celebrating Christmas, eating pork, crab, lobster, and shrimp, but by serving the Most High power. He's raised up and he put down, right? Do you know one more favor, Bakasha, before we wrap up? Give me the book of Deuteronomy 28 and 1. Let's read about a few words here. Let's read through it quick, Bakasha.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high,
right,
above all nations of the earth.
Right. So the Most High promised the so-called black man that you're going to set him on high above all nations of the earth, right? Even from the time of Deuteronomy, the time of Moses. You understand? This is what the Most High set up for the so-called black man. This is what we're supposed to take stock of, right? Read on.
Verse 2. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
Right, read on.
Verse 3. Blessed shall thou be in the city.
Right, so the black man's supposed to be blessed in the city. Read on.
And blessed shall thou be in the field.
Blessed in the field.
Blessed shall thou be, blessed shall be the fruit of thy body.
Right.
And the fruit of thy ground.
Right, so your children, your cattle, right, your sheep, all this should be blessed, right? And let us read verse 7.
The Lord, verse 7, the Lord shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face, and they shall come out against thee one way and flee 7 ways.
So this is what is supposed to happen for the so-called black man, Native Indian man, and Hispanic man, right? I'm going to read verse 9. And verse 9 saying, and the Most High shall establish thee an holy people. So the Most High is supposed to say, when we follow all these things, He's going to have us what? Separate, not together. We should be separate. Holy means separate, right? Unto himself, as he had sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Most High power and walk in his ways. This is supposed to be the job of the so-called black man, just to serve the Most High power. Fear God and keep your commandments. All these philosophies and all these nations have the so-called black man trying everything besides what the Most High require for us to do. We voting, we hoping, we doing everything else. Verse 10, and all the people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Most High. So now they're going to realize now the spirit of the Most High power is in the so-called black man, and they shall be afraid of thee. You understand? So this is how the so-called black man is going to be seen, and we're going to be feared by the other nations when we start serving the Most High power and following his laws, commandments, and his statutes, right? And with that, we're going to pass the class over to priest and officer Maikwa. We will just do the Father Pay Back question. I think next at the grill must be probably about this stuff.
This is the I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commandant GEN.YAHANNA. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or a sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or a sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or a sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After the 6-month period, if the brother or sister, after the 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers chapter 18 and verse 21 and Malachi chapter 3 verses 8 to 10. It means 10 in the Hebrew and is pronounced Ma'asher. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming Holy Convocation. The upcoming Holy Convocation is the Feast of Dedication, otherwise known as Hanukkah, right? Which is the 9th of December 2020. You can find this in 1 Maccabees chapter 4, verses 52 to 61. Remind Archeum and Advatium to check on social media such as ISUPK.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for ISUPK events and materials. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then he's to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, like shirt, like pants, like headbands or scarf. And with that, we say imagine. We're going to turn and face the east and begin the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanawa. Bashamaya, Quadash, Haya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakaka, Taba'a, Ratazaka, Haya, Aisha, Barataza, Kawa, Haya, Bashamaya, the thunder now, Lakam, Ka, Yawam, Basalakna, Kawatna, Kasalakina, Wala'a, Tabayanawa, Nisaiwan, Abad, Shino, Mayon, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Amalakwa, Waha'ala, Taparat, Iwalamium, Aman. All right, what we said in English was our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our day, Salakia. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it. Sir, men of Israel, let's give the teacher a 1 courtesy salute. Amatim Shabbat, Majam, Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yoshai Brakatah. Yadiad Matah. Men of Israel, let's give the sisters online courtesy salute. Amatim Shabbat, Majam, Barak, Yahweh Shemayah Latan Ba'ashem Yoshai. Yadiad Matah, Class Miss.